Hello everyone, my name is Oliver Darris and welcome to Open Source Software. Today I will be going over my website I created for you today about open source software and the effects and impacts it has on the world, its purpose, its relationship to data, technical aspects, and references that I found. To create my website I was able to use cpanel.com. cpanel is a website used to help create any type of website and design it to your own choosing. It has creations of codes and messages through HTML and CSS. HTML is hypertext markup language. Standard markup language are always used to create any type of website. As we look at the top of my banner, I created this banner using Pixlr. Pixlr is a great website to use for creating banners, logos, and pictures. Throughout my website and video, you will see the creation of my banners that were created in Pixlr and mostly this banner right here. This project discusses the impact of open source software. If a program is open source, its source code is freely available to all of its users. Its users and anyone else have the ability to take this source code, modify it, and distribute their own versions of the program. The user also has the ability to distribute as many copies of the original program as they want. Anyone can use the program for any purpose. There are no licensing fees or any other restrictions on the software. Programmers who have access to the computer's program source code can improve their program by adding features to it, or even fixing parts that don't always work correctly. Open source software licenses give users freedom that they would not have otherwise. Open source applications are generally free, although there's nothing stopping the developer from charging for copies of the software, if they allow redistribution of the application and its source code afterwards. As we scroll down, we can see a video that will explain what open source software is in a similar manner.
The open opportunity. The accelerating use and interest in open source software, or OSS, represents the most significant technology adoption process today. The facts speak for themselves. 50% of Chief Information Officers committed to OSS, 70% increasing investment in OSS, and 40% expecting to migrate mission-critical software to OSS in the coming year, according to industry research. Did you know that 9 out of 10 Wall Street banks use OSS? By open source software, we mean computer software that is available in source code form, with a license permitting users to inspect, use, improve, expand, and distribute freely, all based upon open standards, a non-proprietary specification, having proven itself in supercomputing over many years, and more recently with the adoption of virtualization and the cloud.
The video is just a small demonstration of what open software really is. As we can look at the effects and impacts of open source software, we can show this video of how open source software is used in everyday life.
What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about open source software and how it is beneficial to the community. So pretty much what open source software is, it is software with its source code made available with license in which the copy has the right to study, change, and distribute the software to anyone and for any purpose. Each of these platforms comes with distinct advantages and disadvantages. For example, some are easier to use while others require more technical finesse. Each platform comes with a variety of extensions developed primarily by third-party developers. Many of our add-ons are free of cost and are developed by individuals who are just out to help people. An example of one of these open source softwares would be the Sakai that we use for URI. This site helps me with all my organization. With this, I can check the syllabus, I can check the lessons that are due from every week, assignments, I can check my grades, my quizzes, and overall just better organization.
The The primary benefit of open source software is that its source code is available to all, meaning that not one single person or company owns the software. Any company has the ability to use open source software and can build off it. It has operated and maintained by multiple vendors, reducing both entries and exits. Anyone can easily choose another vendor because they are not locked into one vendor. Also, open source software is peer-reviewed software. So this, which leads to more reliability because you know beforehand how well the software performs. They have proven to be both reliable and robust under the most strenuous conditions, namely the fast growth of the internet. Today, mass collaboration is changing the foundation structure of businesses and reshaping the way these entities operate in our highly competitive environment. Collaboration fueled by methodologies and pure production is forcing management to rethink their strategies. Organizations have previously recreated walled sites and breaking the barriers and creating public spaces where we can all grow and contribute to push forward the boundaries of our businesses as well as the boundaries of industries they operate in. Obvious failure to perform is what we call a bug. In open source software, these bugs are typically addressed with speedy fixes and users advocate rapid time to fix characteristics for software. This makes the software reliable and trustworthy to the user. And of course, open source software is usually free from royalties and fees. The field I chose is the impact of open source software on libraries. The Howard County Library in Maryland may be the most OSS intensive library in the US. In 2005, the library began moving towards an OSS based system, installing Groovix, a version of Ubuntu, and OpenOffice on its 300 public access computer terminals. According to Director Amy Begg Dagoff, it costs the library less than $10 a computer to migrate to an OSS system. While most libraries have not adopted OSS to the same extent, the Howard County Library most integrated some tools into their arsenal. As the cost of frequently emerging technologies rise, minimizing the disparity in resources between well-off and less wealthy libraries is the real challenge. With its accessible source code, ease of consumption, and growing user community, OSS is a viable tool that can help level the playing fields for many libraries. We look at the picture in the upper left-hand corner is a graph. This graph shows the growth of open source software from 2007 to 2015. OSS projects have risen from little to nothing to 2 million. As we look at the technical aspects of open source software, users interact with open source software primarily by logging into their computers or laptops. Open source software is widely used both as independent applications and as components in non-open source applications. Many independent software vendors, value-added resellers, and hardware vendors use open source frameworks, models, and librarians inside their property for a profit product and services. From the customer's perspective, the ability to use open source technology under standard commercial terms and support is valuable. Customers are willing to pay for legal protection, commercial grade A, and professional support, training, consulting that are typical of commercial software, while also receiving the benefits of fine-grained control and lack of lock-in that come with open source. Open source software uses the internet to accomplish its purpose of software whose source code is available for modification and enhancement by anyone. In fact, because much of the internet itself is built on many open source technologies like Linux, operating, and Apache web server applications, anyone on the internet can benefit from open source software. Every time computer users view web pages, check emails, chat with friends, stream music online, or play multiplayer video games on their computer, mobile phones, or gaming consoles connect to the global network of computers that route and transmit their data to the local devices that they have in front of them. Open source software also incorporates programming to accomplish its purpose. Programmers who have access to computers' programs source code can improve the program by adding features to it or fixing parts that don't always work correctly. In other words, computer programmers can access, view, and modify open source software whenever they like. As we look at the relationship to data, open source software consumes and produces and transforms data. Since open source software is so broad, it has many softwares and apps that perform different goals. For example, OpenOffice.org is the leading open source office software use for word processing, spreadsheets, presentations, graphics, databases, and more. Users have the ability to use the software similar to Microsoft Offices and put the data they want into these different spreadsheets and documents. It is available in many languages and worksheets on all the common computers and stores all the data in the International Open Standard format, and can also read and write files from other common Office software packages. Open source software is also a producer. Firefox is also an open source web browser that lets the user surf the internet and produce data from almost anywhere. It lets the user search anything that's on their mind. Firefox is a standards complement browser which uses the Gecko layout engine and includes tabbing, tab browsing, spell check, live bookmarking, a download manager, and an integrated search system. Its strongest feature, however, is that it can be infinitely expanded through countless additional add-ons created by the third-party developers. The security of the open source software is a key concern for organizations, and free and open source softwares are built by communities of developers. With the source code publicly available, access is always open to hackers, and as a result, there could be the assumption that softwares are less secure than property applications. Many decision makers have a knee-jerk reaction to open source software, especially when it comes to security. They believe it is fine to do-it-yourself technology geeks working in the basements, but their businesses' open source software is unproven, complex, and risky. The argument that open source must be risky since it requires so many patches is countered with the explanation that having by so many individuals working with the source code and these projects potentially and design flaws are covered much faster with programs built on property code. As we check out the references of my open source software website, I have references that made together in the last 5 years, and we check out the most recent reference, opensource.com. We can see here where I got most of my information from. It's a great website and it really helped me create this video. That does it. That does complete my video today. This is my website, and I hope all of you enjoyed it and learned a little more about open source software. Thank you, and I'm Oliver Dares.